Hello there, Sir from 17 once again, bringing you the start of my next video walkthrough. And this one is Killzone 3 for the PS3.
This isn't right, man.
And this is going to be on Elite difficulty for anybody wondering. And the first level is Evacuation Orders. But there's a little prologue before this section where you're walking around dressed as a Helghast and he's teaching you how to aim. And that's probably the first level, but there is absolutely no challenge on it, so I've skipped it out. And the main reason I've skipped it is because you go there later on, do the almost the exact same thing, and what would be the fucking point in showing it twice? So instead of that bullshit start level, I've gone straight into the area where you can take damage and where you have to fight. And here we go, this is Killzone 3. And I usually start my guides off by giving you a little, summation of what I felt about the game as I played it, and what I found out as I enjoyed the campaign and what have you. And there's no better time in the game to actually do this than in the first gunfight, because this gunfight here, the AI will do the majority of it for you, as long as you keep your distance and you keep peppering away. You shouldn't have too much trouble with it. So Killzone 3. This is a fantastic looking and a fantastic sounding game. It has everything in it to make it up there with the best first-person shooters on the market. It has set pieces, it has on-rail sections, it has some of, the most interesting areas to fight in. It has some cool-looking weapons, some cool-sounding weapons. It's got, a cool idea of an enemy, a nice introduced hierarchy that the enemy has, where they have these, English guys around a round table, barking commands. It's got semi-interesting story, even though all I can see is Star Wars every 2 minutes, but I'll explain that in the guide, so don't worry. And it's got everything that should make this game a must-buy for a PS3, and there's probably a lot of you out there that think it is, because, for whatever reason you're in love with Sony, or you're in love with the Killzone franchise since, Killzone 2, but I don't like it. And it pains me to say that, because this is, for all intents and purposes, a good game. But it don't feel like a good game, and that is my biggest problem with it. I mean, watch this. I'm shooting a guy at a distance there, I'm burst firing my gun, and I'm not hitting the thing. And this is something that's going to happen throughout this entire game. Enemies take way too much damage, you take far too little, and it almost makes you believe that they have better guns than you. And you pick their gun up, and it's the same fucking story. You're shooting countless bullets into a guy who can kill you far quicker than you can kill him. And I don't think that makes a good first-person shooter. If you don't have that response, that reaction from killing people, that feeling that you get from popping a dude, it's fundamentally flawed, and this game is completely without that feeling for the majority of the campaign. There is one level that remotely tells me that, Guerrilla, whatever they're called, the developer, can make a satisfying shooter, and that is, I think, the third level where you're using a silenced submachine gun, and when you shoot at a guy's head, it pops. Every time, the first bullet, and that is what should happen from any range, on any enemy. Aside from maybe the heavies to make it a little bit more difficult. You shouldn't have every enemy like a fucking tank. It just feels wrong. And it makes your gun feel useless. It devalues the weapons. And any first-person shooter that's devaluing its guns is not a good first-person shooter. And there's probably a ton of people that are going to disagree with me, and feel free to disagree. This is just how I feel, and I feel so passionately about it, I'm probably going to bitch for a lot of this guide. And if you don't like that, then don't watch or mute it. But this is a great game that could have been so much better. Look at the multiplayer. You kill people in 1 to 2 bursts. It's like a 3 to 5 bullet kill in multiplayer. That is the perfect damage for an enemy. Why isn't it in the campaign? Why does everyone in the campaign turn into a fucking Chuck Norris? There's just no need. But this section right now is probably the first intimidating firefight of the game, because on Elite you don't have a crosshair, which you'll already notice, and there's a ton of guys that have better cover to you. You're on an elevated platform and you're looking down at them, so it's harder for you to see them than it is for them to see you. But there is these ammo crates, and one thing I will say, if you see an ammo crate, use it. And you're probably thinking, well, that's pretty fucking obvious, it's an ammo crate, that's what it's for. But no, I mean really use it. Get cheesy. Pull out whichever gun is best, whichever's your heaviest gun, most damaging gun, use all its ammo, run back to the crate, refill, come back down and murder dudes. The reason I do this is because the main guns on this game do not work. Your assault rifle is so fucking crap, there's no point shooting sometimes. And if you can find one of those ammo crates, make sure you've got a decent heavy weapon, just use that and spam the ammo box. That is the best way to take out enemies the fastest. Because there is one rule you need to get used to when you're playing this game. And that is, so for instance, if you were playing any other first person shooter, be it a Call of Duty, be it, you know, a Turok or a Halo, anything like that. When you're in a one-on-one situation with a dude, you're in cover, he's out of cover, and you're at that moment where it's the fight or flight, and you pop out of cover, you have a one-on-one encounter with him, and you win. On any other first-person shooter, because the AI is predictable and you can manage it, you can pop out, kill him before he can kill you, regardless of difficulty. Unless maybe it's a guy with a shotgun on a veteran Call of Duty, he might fuck you up, but that's just because the computer's reflexes are brilliant. That is something you have to get out of your system quickly on Killzone, because regardless of how good you are at aiming, regardless of your gun skill, your experience with these kind of games, when you go out of cover and it's a one-on-one with an enemy, there is no guarantee that your gun is going to be enough to kill him before he kills you. And the reason for this is, there is a stagger mechanic in this game, and the fact that the guns are absolute dog shit. But the stagger mechanic is, when you shoot a dude, he reacts to it. They give it a weighted feeling to your actions, which is kind of fucking ironic when on the 50th bullet he's still dancing around like Patrick Swayze. But you can make them stagger, you can stop them from doing what they're doing, and if you hit them enough they will constantly stagger until they die, and they'll dance around for a bit and then you'll have the victory. But this necessarily doesn't always happen. I mean, look at this guy here. I'm 5 yards away from him, I put a full burst in his arm and I kill him. And it's like, that feels okay. There's this guy over here. It's like, how many... And this guy's... Watch this, is he still alive? Because one thing you've got to watch out for as well is when they're on the floor, get into the habit to put in a couple more rounds in them, because if you don't, the first time you don't do it, the guy will get up, out of your peripheral vision, and fuck you up. And they will kill you so quickly, when they're up close, it's not even funny. So you need to really get that into your head. And I don't know why they've incorporated the 6-axis in these games, because that is the most gay thing ever. But it is nice to see that, you know, the people that built this planet on wherever the fuck it is, this Helghan world, are the same engineers that were in Gears of War 1 on Sarah. Because for some reason, one of those twisty valves controls all the doors. And yeah, not the most efficient way to open up a gate, I don't think. But carry on pushing forward. You'll notice I'm in front of the AI here, so Rico probably doesn't know what the fuck he's doing, because he needs to give me a leg up on this ledge, and he's all the way back there, so I shoot him a bit. And you can shoot your AI buddies, which is pretty funny, because they're a fucking nuisance at times, but I think you can down them, so be careful, because you'll have to pick them up. But an interesting mechanic as well on this game, I don't know if it was in 2, because I can't remember ever getting downed that much, but if you get downed on this game, it isn't game over. What will happen is, if you're with a buddy, like for instance if you're with Rico, like I just were, he will pick you up if he can get to you. If he can't get to you, he won't. It's that simple, really. And it's kind of weird. I think it only lets you do it 3 times in a level and then it's game over. But those moments when you're pushing, you know, a particularly bad checkpoint and you're doing everything right, and then for whatever reason you get cheesed, it's kind of cool, because then he'll come, he'll pick you up, and all is not lost. And what I was originally going to do with this guide, I was going to, every time I go down, you know, hit the checkpoint, go back and try and do it better. And for the most of the game, that's what I do, because it pisses me off laying on the floor waiting for that fucking mongoloid to come and pick you up, because that dude is so dumb. He makes wallpaper look intelligent. He's just a fucking spazoid. And you should never rely on him to get you. You should never rely on anything but your own skill, because if you don't, you're not going to get very far with the game. But he will pick you up. And what I've done in this walkthrough, there's maybe 3 or 4 times, there may be more, I can't quite remember, where I've been downed by something that I thought was bullshit, and I've left in the revive because it didn't take him a while to get me, and I carried on and did the section. And I feel that because I've left a couple of those moments of weakness in the guide, it makes it a little bit more accessible for you people playing, because some people don't realise when I make my guides how heavily edited they are. And it's only really the people that have any kind of, you know, knowledge of how guides are made, or any kind of editing skills or editing experience, that realise what goes into making these videos. What you see is not one run. Sometimes it is, if you had a good run or you got lucky, but for the majority, it might be 3 or 4 separate runs neatly knitted together to give the impression of, you know, fluidity, to give the impression of a full video. The reason that anybody who makes a guide does this is to help you. Nobody wants to see, you know, a dude do something 30 times and fuck it up, and then on the 40th time he does it, and you just watched 7 videos and you're still no more plus than what you were when you went to the video to get the help in the first place. That is not what people watch these guys for. You watch these guys to see somebody do what you can't do. And then when they do it, you say to yourself, I can fucking do that, and you do exactly that. That is what a guide is all about. That's what a guide means to me, that's what a guide should mean to you. And some of these bits, some of these games are very difficult, and sometimes you can't help but die. So they're all neatly knitted together into one whole video. But I got a little off topic there. And I'm leaving them in so people can see that if you do get downed in certain areas, it's not necessarily your fault. Sometimes it's just the game. And one thing that's going to fuck you most on this game than the enemies themselves is impatience, because you're going to be shooting at guys like I'm doing now, and the reason I'm not pushing up into that room is because when you go forward, they spawn on the balcony to your right, and there's a ton of dudes on the ground to your left. And I died a couple times in this room because I pushed it too quickly. So you're going to see me take a bit of a coward route through it. I'm going to be taking my time, and the main reason is their guns work from a distance, your guns don't, and it frustrates the balls off me. Like, I know there's a guy over behind that cover, but I can't hit him because for some reason he's more accurate blind firing than I am looking down my fucking sights, putting an aimer on his face and wasting a full magazine and hitting nothing. Well, like Poncho in Predator, where he looks back to Dutch and they've just stripped all those trees for the last 10 minutes and he's like, we hit nothing, because the Predator had already fucked off because he's super fast and shit. But it's just unnecessary, and it makes this game unfun. I don't know, man. I'm about to hit 300 subscribers on YouTube, which is an awesome feeling, and thank you to everybody that's most recently subscribed. You'll be seeing your name in another Legends list when I can get down to doing it. And it just makes me, you know, look forward to when I've got 299,000, 700 more subscribers, where I might actually have some sway on YouTube. And when I say the developer should fucking listen to this, maybe there's some dude who's, like a PR manager who's on Twitter all the time who actually sees some of these opinions, because if I was in the meeting at Guerrilla when they were like, at every enemy rate, this could be awesome. If you shoot him 10 times, he's still alive, and then it feels right satisfying when you finally finish him off. And then this, this big executive in his fucking pinstripes and his loafers, and he stands there with his arms axed, he's got his sleeves rolled up, and he's packing a trendy looking half tuck, and he's like, does everybody agree with that? Everybody's like, yeah, genius, awesome, ticking off another box so they can get home to the wives because they're losing sleep over this deliberation process. And then I'm like, there's one hand just pops up at the back of the room, and the guy with his smug fucking smile at the front's like, yeah, what do you want to input to this fantastic idea? And then there's me sat there with the biggest Cheshire cat grin on my face, and I just go, it's fucking dog shit. That is the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. Ever. And his face goes completely white, and then he gets like smug little smirk, and he's like, well, what would you do to make this better? And I just go, make guns that fucking work, make enemies that fucking die. And then I trendily walk out of the room in slow motion with, my lapels flapping. And there you go. Game is fixed. But I'm not that guy, I'm not in that meeting, and for that reason I bitch like a woman. Not that women bitch, it's just, first thing that comes to mind. And women do bitch, but I love them anyway. But when you get onto this balcony, toss a couple of grenades over there. And just pick people off and just try to be patient, because there's a checkpoint coming up, and if you die on here, you're probably all the way down where we started at the point in this room. But yeah, this is the very start of my Killzone 3 guide. If you're wondering what kind of commentator or walkthrough I am, there's nearly 300 videos that will explain that to you, and there's this one just now. So once again, people, thanks for supporting me, and you take care now.